Okay, I wanted to talk about the Colorado movie theater shooting, but just want you guys to hear this clip so the listeners know what we're talking about.
During a fight scene in The Dark Knight Rises, Batman exhorts Catwoman to put away her weapon. No killing, he says. No guns. Sadly, in the Century 16 theater last night, life did not imitate that bit of art, and the midnight premiere of that film became a killing ground. Tonight, families are reeling. A young man is in custody, and police are trying to figure out how to disarm the suspect's apartment loaded with explosive booby traps. ABC's David Wright begins our coverage tonight from the Denver suburb of Aurora. David?
Good evening, Bill. We're just a few yards away from the multiplex where that massacre took place. At this hour, the coroner is at a local high school with families who have been agonizing all day about their missing loved ones. And outside that high school, as you can see, people are crying. The midnight showing of The Dark Knight Rises. Fans across the country, a summons as irresistible as the bat signal. At the Century 16 Theater here in Aurora, the crowd included Jennifer Seeger, seated in the second row, a young couple with their 2 kids, and Jessica Gowie, a 25-year-old aspiring sportscaster who goes by the professional name Jessica Redfield. She tweeted her friends from inside the theater. "Movie doesn't start for 20 minutes," she wrote, excitedly, in capital letters. The last tweet she'd ever send at 11:37. About 12:05, right as the credits started to roll, a man in the front row of Theater 9 got up, pretending to take a phone call. He went out the emergency exit, propping open the door behind him. 24-year-old James Egan Holmes was apparently gearing up for an action scene of his own. Police say he had with him a Smith & Wesson assault rifle, a Remington pump-action shotgun, and 2 Glock semi-automatic pistols. 12:39, this was the scene on the screen. Christian Bale acting opposite Michael Caine as Holmes came back through the emergency exit wearing a gas mask. Witnesses say he threw a green canister into the crowd, filling the theater with smoke.
Your eyes are burning, it makes you want to just close them, and then you can't breathe and just makes you want to cough.
As though reenacting a scene from a Dark Knight comic, witnesses say Holmes fired into the air and then started shooting into the crowd.
The first clear sign of it was when the guy that was sitting right next to me actually got shot in the chest.
And all the bullet casings kept falling on my forehead. They were like singeing my forehead.
At that moment, I just remember thinking, I'm not gonna die in here. Me and my kids, we are not going to die in here. I need to get them out.
At that point, he takes his gun and he walks a little further, takes a couple steps, and he points it at me. At that point, he has a rifle in my face.
There was a moment where my daughter tripped and I just pulled her up and I was just dragging her and I was just thinking, we just gotta get out. I just gotta get out the doors, and even if I just fall dead, just get my kids out of here. It was just so horrible.
16, I got 7 down in Theater 9. 7 down.
Police arrived on the scene less than 2 minutes after the rampage started, but it was chaos.
What's happening? Oh my God.
I've got a child victim. I need rescue at the back door of Theater 9 now.
Yelling fire in a crowded theater may be enough to cause a stampede. Opening fire meant utter pandemonium.
We go out and the first thing we see is a 13, 14-year-old girl with a bullet wound in her leg.
According to witnesses, Holmes tried to blend in with the crowd.
He stayed like within the theater. People were just running. He was just walking. He was just walking.
Mr. Holmes was apprehended outside in the back of the theater, and he was apprehended with 3 weapons.
Holmes immediately surrendered. Police observed his hair was dyed orange. He told them, "I am the Joker." He also told them the movie theater, his apartment, and his car were booby-trapped, just like the comic book villain would do. A full hour after the rampage began, the story broke over the airwaves. By then, 18 ambulances were there, triaging the victims and transporting the most serious cases to 6 local hospitals. 12 people killed and 58 injured, 70 victims in all. So many, the police turned the back seats of their cruisers into makeshift ambulances.
Back is full of blood. I don't know if that matters or not. Full of what? Blood.
By 2 a.m., Holmes' apartment block was evacuated as the bomb squad started assessing the booby traps. They were extensive.
I see an awful lot of wires, trip wires, jars full of ammunition, jars full of liquid, things that look like mortar rounds. We have a lot of challenges to get in there safely.
Today, inside dozens of hospital rooms, survivors struggle to make sense of all this.
It was cold and calculated, definitely. It seemed very methodical, just the rate at which he was firing and how he wasn't really moving position. He was just like unloading into the crowd.
And all day long, 10 bodies remained inside the building while law enforcement secured the scene. Their families and friends left waiting and wondering.
Tell me where he is, okay? Find my son. I don't know where he is, okay? Somebody find him and call us. Tell him to call us.
His son never called. Sadly, Alex Sullivan is dead. Late in the day, the authorities finally started to bring out the bodies. Among the dead, Jessica Gawi Redfield, that aspiring sportscaster who was so excited before the movie. Tonight, her mother spoke with Diane Sawyer.
My life is forever changed and forever damaged by one person's horrible, violent choice.
Astonishingly, this was not Jessica's first time in harm's way. Last month, she happened to be in a Toronto food court when a gunman went on a deadly rampage there. Her friend Peter Burns said that experience led her to make the most of every day. In her blog, she wrote, "I was reminded we don't know when or where our time on earth will end, when or where we will breathe our last breath." This morning, when Peter opened up his Facebook page, there was a message from Jessica.
It said, "Hey."
A message she wrote just before the movie.
It goes, "Hey, are you guys back in town?" You know, just it was her checking in. And when
by the time you got that message, she was already dead.
Yeah.
I'm David Wright for Nightline in Aurora, Colorado.
Yes, sorry indeed, Joey Jackson. Let me go to you first on this. So what is your take on this upcoming trial? There's going to be cameras, evidently. Give me your take on the whole situation.
Well, let me tell you this, Jordan. I have to run, but before I do, let me just say that I'm sickened for the community. I'm sickened for the families. And it's just, it's just one of those things that leaves you dumbfounded and speechless. You can talk about mental health, you can talk about gun control, you can talk about a number of things, but just the inhumanity of what occurred there and the amount of people that were affected and the amount of parents who, won't have children and the amount of people who were killed who won't have children themselves. And, it just had a devastating impact on that community, and I think it was heartfelt by everyone throughout the country. And it really teaches us a lesson. Can we be safe anywhere? If you can't be safe watching a movie with the person you love, with a family member, with a friend, where can you be? And so it's a sad commentary, and I could only hope that, justice is served during the upcoming trial. And I don't know what justice is here, though. I don't know how you bring someone back. And there's not only, as it relates to the 12 dead, but the other 58 having been injured, it sickens and saddens me. And so may justice be done there. And I will cede my time to the great Tom Mesereau to give you his take with the remaining time you have left. But I just want to say this, and I don't. This is a very serious topic, and I don't want to make light of anything. I just want to say to Tom, though, that I do have a bone to pick with him, because how can you get him on your show, but I can't get him on HLN? But that's a question that Tom's going to have to mention. So, but listen, Tom, let's do this
Joey,
again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for making this season 3 possible. I always, the fans have asked for it, I've asked for it, and you came through, and you've always came through. You were my very first guest when I first started doing this radio show, and it's great to have you here again.
Well, it's interesting how I'm your first guest, and then all of a sudden you improve and upgrade the quality of your guest by getting Tom Mesereau there. It's just not fair. It's not right. But pass along my number to Tom, please. And Tom, we should have a discussion. But again, I know, I didn't mean to do it on the heels of a Raw. It's just that I got to go, and I just want to convey that. And it was my pleasure. It's always my pleasure joining you, Jordan. And it's just an honor to be on with Tom Mesereau. So let's get him, where I could see him on a screen. But in any event, peace, love, and happiness to you both. All right?
Cool. Thank you for the compliments, Joey, and I look forward to seeing you on HLN, and thank you for all the insight and advice. You were just terrific, and your views are very, very important. They really are.
It's my honor and privilege, and if we're lucky, we'll get to see you on HLN. So listen, you be well, all right? You take care, both of you. God bless. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joey. And Tom, you always are a big fan of Joey, right?
Oh, I'm a very big fan of Joey Jack. I think he's a terrific legal analyst. I think he has tremendous insight. I think he has experience behind the insight. I think he combines an academic knowledge of the law and procedure with great experience. And he comes across as a very, very wise, insightful analyst. And I don't think there's a better one on television. And I've never had the honor of doing a case with him, but my understanding is he's a terrific lawyer and relates very well to juries, treats the court and everybody with great respect, and does a great service for his clients. So I think he's a tremendous asset in many different ways. I, of course, echo what he said about that horrifying, case in Colorado. It's terrifying beyond belief. It's almost hard to imagine such a thing happening. And I remember when I was following it, I just was so sick for I just felt so horrible about the families who went to this theater just to have a night out, and their families were just devastated. People killed, people maimed for no reason. I do think this defendant is seriously mentally ill, and I'm sorry in a way to hear about their televising it, because I'm afraid it might give this person, as sick as he is, attention that he wants. I remember, listen, I was born in New York and raised mostly in New Jersey, and I remember the Son of Sam case years ago where they arrested this guy who was terrorizing the city, and he had a big smile on his face. He really loved the attention. And I fear that this disturbed individual who committed these horrific crimes is going to enjoy the attention, and I don't think that's appropriate. My view of televising trials really depends on the case, and it depends on the role I'm playing. If I'm a defense attorney, of course, my concern is protecting my client. When I was defending actor Robert Blake in his homicide case, I wanted the preliminary hearing televised because I thought we could surprise the prosecution with a lot of information they didn't think we had and that they didn't have about their witnesses. I thought we could turn public opinion towards Blake, and we actually did. In the Michael Jackson case, I did not want cameras in the courtroom. I didn't think it would help him in the long run. And I didn't want witnesses seeing what other witnesses were saying on television and getting caught up in the media circus. So, but in this situation, of course, I don't have a role in the case. I'm just kind of disturbed that this sick individual who committed these crimes is going to get a lot of attention and like it. That really bothers me.
I agree with you 100%. I do want to go over some things before we get to the calls. Inès Perron from France via Facebook, she writes in, Tom Mesereau is supporting Randall Sullivan. Why? He thinks Michael might have not done it, probably didn't do it, she says, but doesn't give the good vote of confidence. Her basic question is, in her opinion, how could you support somebody like Randall Sullivan and some of the things he might have said in his book?